Hello and welcome back to Define Roots. My name is Tian, and today we're going to talk about holding on to things. And I just saw a video the other day where this guy was showcasing what it meant to hold on to things. So he had like a cup of water, and he asked his student, "How much does this cup of water weight?" And some said 6 ounce, 12 ounce, 16 ounce. And then the professor said, the weight of the glass doesn't really matter. But rather, if he were to hold on to the glass of water for an hour, nothing would really happen. But if he were to hold on to it for, let's say, a day, or even 12 hours, his arm will begin to get numb. If he did that for a week, his hand will probably be paralyzed or be gone. So the same example is kind of like this little piece of wooden thing, pine cone. It doesn't really weigh that much. Oh, this thing is moving. So this pine cone doesn't really weigh that much in weight, but if I were to hold on to this, it's going to add up. Like, this might not weigh anything, but by holding on to this, it will increase its weight. Not that the weight of this thing changed, but the fact that I'm holding on to this, I'm getting weaker as I'm holding on to this longer. And that kind of got me thinking of ideas and thoughts and things in life. To have an idea, if I were to just hold on to that idea, nothing would really happen. Just like I would just hold on to this little pine cone, nothing would really happen just by holding it. I'm losing actually a resource that I could use, my hand, to do other things. I could use my hand to gather, let's say, small trees and put into a pile, and small tinders to start a fire. So I would hold on to this camera, keep moving, but it'll just have to be that way. So I can use my hand to quickly pick up and drop off small tinders, and eventually, if I use my hand effectively, I could have a fire starter to start a fire, which is a lot more productive and useful than just holding on to this thing because it is beautiful, or because I just want to hold on to it. Because it just shows that resources are limited. I only have two hands to operate on, and my mind has only limited amount of resources to process thoughts. And if I spend all my resources processing old thoughts that cannot really change anything, then I'm just wasting my energy thinking about that thought. Just kind of like me holding on to this pine cone. It doesn't really have a value, but I assign a value to this and it becomes an emotional value. Let's say that my mother gave me this pine cone, and since it is a sentimental value, I hold on to this and I become attached to this without realizing that I'm actually are tied to this physically, mentally, and resourcefully. So now I only have one hand to, let's say, operate because I have one sentimental value of possession in one hand that I cannot let go. I struggle to let go of this thing because I'm so attached to it. And that again will limit myself from operating in the world. So, let's say that in the world, I were to, or in the past, I have a thought that is very haunting. It's a traumatic event that have happened in the past. And I hold on to that thought, even though that it has happened already. And the event is over. But I somehow are so afraid of it that I relive it and hold on to that thought every day. So instead of that event being a one-time thing, it becomes a lifetime. For instance, let's say I held on to this pine cone and somehow a spider came out and bit me. That is rather tragic and unpleasant. And that's not a fun thing to experience. And so instead of that just being one experience to have happened, I now associate that one experience with every pine cones that there might be a spider, which may or may not be true, but it have happened once, but I'm afraid of pine cones for the rest of my life. If I hold on to that experience. I'm not saying it's easy to let go of those ideas or thoughts, but rather the idea of it all is that anything that is held on to is going to be a resource that it needs to be processed and managed in a way. So instead of just holding on to this pine cone of sentimental value, I can let it go. Now I have two hands that I can operate on. Instead of having an idea that I hold on to, because by holding on to that idea doesn't really do much until I do something about that idea. Then it can become something real, something physical, something that can materialize into the physical world. Because if it's just an idea, it would just be an idea. Just like this pine cone, it can just be a pine cone. Or if I decide to do something about it, I could glaze this over epoxy and forever seal its current condition and hold that sentimental value without physically being tied to it, without holding on to this. I can have it as a display, as a picture, as a memory, as something to remind me of this. And so again, the same thing with thoughts or ideas of the past. Instead of it being something that haunts me, it could rather just be something that is of memory, something to remember, something to learn from, and move on. Because if I hold on to those ideas and events live every day, it's going to use resources to keep them alive. And that is going to be tiresome, just doing that alone. And so, letting go of things might feel like it is the end of it. But rather, by letting go of this pine cone, I can now use my hand to do different things more effectively, explore different materials, use it to craft different things, and explore different things because I have the option to do so. And that reminds me a lot of when I hold on to things. I'm blocking opportunities in life. My camera just way out of frame for some reason. But in a way, it is kind of like holding on to an identity. Like if I hold on to a version of myself that I feel so stuck with, which may or may not be something that is truly who I am. If it is an identity that I created when I was young, and deep inside, I know that I strive for something better. I strive for something different. Deep inside of me, I know that I need something different. But I'm so emotionally attached and tied sentimentally to my identity that I cannot let go. That is going to prohibit every possible opportunity that wants to grow and that wants to be introduced to the life. And this kind of brings me back to the idea of the mental garden that I had, or that I talked about the other day on the last episode. And that is, if I planted poison ivy and I feel so emotionally attached to that plant because generations of my parents, grandparents, great grandparents, they all planted poison ivies because that's what they did. They didn't really have a reason for it, they just did it. And here I come questioning, why do I plant poison ivy? I don't like it. I don't like the way it feels. It's painful and it hurts. And who likes holding poison ivy? I don't do that. But if I don't let go of that generational sentimental value of planting poison ivy, I'm going to unconsciously carry that on to the next generation without realizing that there was other potentials. There is a potential of outgrowing that and evolving into something different. And what that would look like is, instead of planting poison ivy, let's say now I found roses to be quite delightful. And so instead of planting poison ivy, I plant roses. And honestly, it feels quite enjoyable to plant roses because the color looks really nice, they smell really good, and it's very pleasant to take care of. So holding on to things might feel safe and secure because it's familiar. Like, I know that this pine cone has been given to me from my mother. I know where it came from. I know who held it. I know what value it has. I know what value it had. And I know the history and the story and everything there is to know about this pine cone. But personally, it has no meaning to me outside of the sentimental value that I was given. So if I hold on to this, it will prevent me from exploring other options, other opportunities, and other things that exist in life that could actually have a meaning to me. Something that I feel connected and tied to personally. And if I lived a life that the meaning was given, then I didn't create a meaning myself. It was just all something that was passed on, and I carry that for the sake of carrying it. And so that cup metaphor reminds me of, sometimes I have to let go of things in order to gain new things, gain a resource that is my hand, so I can explore and try different things. And when the day comes where I do find something that it is worth holding on to, because I know myself that I found something that I want to be a part of me, It's an extension of me. I found something that I feel really proud of holding on to, because now, let's say I found this little tree or little branch. I found this branch and I feel really connected with it because for some reason it becomes an extension of me. I'm proud to hold on to this, and I will hold on to this, and I will operate life with this thing because it is an extension of me. I'm proud of having this. I'm proud of carrying this. I'm proud to showcase the world that what I have in my hand is a value to me. And so I go on life with one hand being occupied because I know that this is what I want to hold on to. I don't need to let go unless I feel like I want to let go of this thing. And that could be anything in life. And holding on to things that feels proudly, that feels like it is a part of me, that feels like it is an extension of me, that I can walk around and tell people about what I have, that feels more impactful to hold on to rather than just holding on for the sake of holding on. And this brings me to the thought of, let's say I found a diamond that is worth the size of my hand. It is as big as my hand. And I have to let go of that diamond in order to sell it, to gain something for it. If I didn't sell, if I couldn't let go of that diamond, I wouldn't be able to sell it. I would have to let go of the diamond. In return, I will get the monetary value for this diamond. And with that, now I have to let go 1,000, 2,000 in order to trade for something else. So the act of it all is to let go in order to gain. And when something is gained, it has to be let go of. It has to be let go. That's not even the right term. You guys get the idea. It has to be let go of in order to be gained of. An example is, if I want apples, I need to let go of the seed in my hand into the ground, and I have to go get water. I have to let go of the water and plant it, and over time it will give me apples. But holding on to something is going to prevent me from exploring opportunities and possibilities. Because of that, it is limiting by holding on to. And just to bring back the point earlier, is that if there is something that is found to be worth holding on to, it better be held on to till the last breath of my life. Because what is worth holding on to that much is perhaps something that makes me better, something that empowers who I am, that it overvalues everything that I could possibly utilize my hand for. For instance, if I was a lumberjack, I need an axe because it empowers who I am and it empowers what I do, and it increases my usability and being useful by having an axe because I'm a lumberjack. It is a tool that empowers what I am. If I was a chef, I would need a knife. I need a really good knife as a chef. And I would hold on to that knife until the end of my days because it empowers who I am. So, whatever that might be, obviously, this is metaphorically speaking because we're not going to hold on to a knife to the very end of our days. But the idea here is that the resources that is so valuable to hold on to better be worth it, because it's going to take a lot of energy and resource to manage the things that are in life. But if I keep picking up things and throwing things and picking up things and throwing things and have no real meaning to these things, then my life is not going to be of meaning. Unless, of course, it is intentionally of what I do, like making a campfire, making fire starters, and doing things with my hand, but also temporary. I need to keep getting woods, I need to keep getting tinder, and I keep using my hand, if that is what I desire. But the main idea here is that if I held on to this pine cone for an hour, my hand would be fine. But if I held on to this pine cone for a day, my hand would be numb. If I held on to this pine cone for a week, my hand would be paralyzed. Even though the weight of the pine cone has not changed, but holding on to this for X amount of time is going to make me weaker. So let's say this pine cone is a thought. If I held on to it for an hour, that's fine, let it go. It won't bother. But if I held on to this for a week, a month, a year, it will begin to bother. It will begin to create turbulence. It will begin to take resources, and it will take a lot of effort and energy to calm that storm, because it's been cooked and marinated into the available resources that I have in order to manage that. It's almost engraved inside of me, and it becomes a part of me because I've been holding on to it for so long that it takes so much to manage that. And that is so tiresome. I know that a lot of these things are repeated over and over and over again. And that is on purpose, because hearing it once might just pass the ear. Hearing it twice might just settle in the ear. Hearing it 3 or 4 times might linger in the ear. 5, 6 times, you got tired of it, and now it might stick to the ear. And every time that something ought to be held on to, it's reminded, because it is stuck to the ear. So I think that should be enough for today. Just a really brief reminder one last time. If something is worth holding on to, hold on to it. If something is outgrown its duties and outgrown its value, outgrown its purpose, then letting go allows new opportunities to grow. And it allows new space and things in life to be introduced, because my hands are now open. It's not closed to be hold on to things. Whether it is old habits that's been done over the years, and it prevents new habits to form because old habits are there, and you can only have so much habits because in a day we have 24 hours. And there's so much thing we can only do in a day. And if old habits takes up 8 hours of the day playing video games, I won't have space for a new habit to do 8 hours of the day. You guys get the idea. Okay, I think I'll end it here. Until next time, be safe, be kind to yourself. Things takes time. Just allow time to grow and sow, because planting an apple tree does not take a day. It takes a decade or two. And it takes multiple iterations of one apple tree to create a good apple tree. So whatever you are right now and you're not happy with whatever the version of you are, just know that things takes time. It takes a lot of iterations, corrections, and thought into molding and forging into the blade that you ought to become. A samurai sword has been forged over and over, hammered over and over and over, and times 100 times over, times 1,000 over, until it becomes the steel that it is, and sharp as it is, and endurable as it is, and as magnificent as it is. So, things takes time. And okay, we'll end it. I'll see you in the next one. Be kind, be safe. Ciao.